Appointment in Samarra is a story about man's futile attempt to cheat death. Did Maugham create this story? No. It was part of the Babylonian stories that were compiled long back. Babylonia was a state in ancient Mesopotamia. This is now in Iraq. Great stories transcend time and are told and retold with each storyteller adding his or her creative elements to it. This legendary tale was retold over centuries, and in 1933 Maugham published his version of this Babylonian myth. Appointment in Samarra is a story taken from Maugham's play titled Sheppey. Maugham ends his play by having Death, a character, visit Sheppey, the eponymous character. Death narrates this story to convey the message that there is no escape from death. So, what is eponymous character? Yes, Sheppey is the protagonist after whom the play is named. We often name things or places after people. These names are known as eponyms. So Sheppey is an eponym because the play is named after the main character. Hamlet is an eponym because the play is named after the main character, Hamlet. And so is Macbeth. The most popular eponym in India might be the name of Mahatma Gandhi. There are so many entities named after him. MG Road, MG University, MG College, and so on. Queen Victoria's name is an eponym. The Government Victoria College, Victoria Memorial. Did you know the town hall in Kozhikode was originally called the Victoria Jubilee Hall? I hope you got the idea of what an eponym is. The author, Idris Shah, also wrote a version of the story in his Tales of Dervishes. Saki also has a version. Maugham's short story in the play, Sheppey, inspired the American writer John O'Hara to title his 1934 novel also as The Appointment in Samarra. This novel has a different story with a protagonist named Julian English. Now, what exactly happens in Maugham's short story? The speaker is Death. There was a merchant in Baghdad who sent his servant to market to buy provisions, and in a little while the servant came back, white and trembling, and said, "Master, just now I was in the marketplace and I was jostled by a woman in the crowd, and when I turned, I saw it was Death that jostled me. She looked at me and made a threatening gesture. Now lend me your horse and I will ride away from this city and avoid my fate. I'll go to Samarra and there Death will not find me." The merchant lent him his horse, and the servant mounted it, and he dug his spurs in its flanks, and as fast as the horse could gallop, he went. Then the merchant went down to the marketplace, and he saw me standing in the crowd. And he came to me and said, "Why did you make a threatening gesture to my servant when you saw him this morning?" "That was not a threatening gesture," I said. "It was only a start of surprise. I was astonished to see him in Baghdad, for I had an appointment with him tonight in Samarra." Let us examine some aspects of the story. So, what is there to analyze in this? It's such a simple story. There are plenty of aspects in the story to put our mind into. This is a simple but powerful story. We just need to ask the right questions. Who is the narrator of the story? Death. Death is the narrator and the main character of the story. Is Death an omniscient narrator? If so, how can you arrive at that conclusion? Omniscient means all-knowing. Omni means all, and sire means to know. The word science also comes from this root word sire. Science also means to know. A narrator who knows everything that is going to happen in the story is an omniscient narrator. He or she can know the thoughts of the characters, can communicate what they are saying to each other at any point in time, at any place. An omniscient narrator can surprise the readers because that narrator knows everything. Death narrates this tale in a way that leads us to believe that she is almost an omniscient being. How do we know this? The narrator, Death, is able to describe what the servant told the master. Later, Death says that she was astonished or surprised to see the servant in Baghdad. If the narrator is surprised, it means she does not know what is going to happen in the story. Death here is not an omniscient narrator. What purpose does this serve for the author? By showing Death to be surprised, Maugham makes Death appear mysterious and also presents her as someone who is like an ordinary human being with flaws. This creates a feeling that Death is not all powerful and omniscient. For a brief moment, the reader might get the feeling that maybe we could cheat Death, as Death does not know everything. This statement of being surprised sets up for the twist in the ending, as we readers know where the servant is going. It's a case of dramatic irony. This dramatic irony is achieved by Maugham by showing us that Death was surprised to find the servant in Baghdad. Can you think of other names for Death or Death personified? Personified? Personification is the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. Sometimes we can personify the blackboard as speaking to the teacher. Hey teacher, what are you doing? Why are you writing on me? So the blackboard is getting hurt when the teacher uses the chalk on him or her. Now we can have personifications of Death in myths and literary works. We have Yama, who is the god of death, Kalan, the grim reaper. These are all examples for personifications. Now, what is the gender of Death as portrayed in the story? How did you figure that out? Or what markers in the text helped you to figure out the gender of Death? Markers, what is that? What do you mean by that? Markers. Markers are terms or words like pronouns which are used in the story. So what are the pronouns used in the story? She is used. She refers to the female gender. So we know that the narrator is a woman. Why do you think the author chose to portray Death as a woman? Why not a man? We normally see Death personified as a man. All the myths and literary works present Death as someone terrifying. Maugham changes this narrative by presenting Death as a woman. Does he make Death less threatening by presenting Death as a woman? Authors often change the way the protagonists of the story are portrayed. This may be done to surprise the reader. We expect a man, but Death turns out to be a woman. This is what literature is all about. The literariness lies in the art or skill of presenting things differently. To create that, Death is a woman in this. Think of various stories which change the way we view the world. Oru kada sollata sir. Think of the film Vikram Vedha and how the script made us question the concept of a hero and a villain. Think how MT Vasudevan Nair changed the narrative of Chandu and turned him into a hero? Think of a female version of Sherlock Holmes. What about Shakespeare? What if Shakespeare had a sister? Would she be as popular as him? There are limitless possibilities. Now, what can you say about the setting of the story? What purpose does the setting serve? The setting is a market. By introducing death in such a common place, Maugham presents death as someone familiar to us. We meet common people, people who are familiar to us in the marketplace. Just like that, the servant meets death. Jostle means to push. So, does death jostle the servant on purpose? Maybe, maybe not. The market is crowded, so it might have happened unknowingly. When death sees the servant, death is surprised. Oh my God, what is this man doing here? When the merchant questions death, she says she did not threaten the servant and that it was only a start of surprise. Death is just like any one of us and is surprised to find the servant in the market. She meant no harm, but the very concept of death is threatening. But her statement is ironic, as she says she did not mean to threaten him, even though she came face to face with the servant. Just imagine you are the servant and you are seeing death face to face. Won't you be scared? The gender of death and the setting of the story are two ways to disarm the readers and trick us to believe that death is non-threatening. These two narrative strategies used by Maugham, combined with the fact that death was presented as not omniscient, as she was surprised to find the servant in the market, it embellishes the surprise ending of the story. That aha moment is produced when we connect what has happened earlier. The servant has gone to Samarra. What is the appointment? It's also happening at Samarra. What can you say about the character of the merchant? Is he a good master? Courageous, curious, or inquisitive? The merchant goes to the marketplace to confront death about the encounter with his servant. What do we understand from this? The merchant is certainly inquisitive. He wants to verify whether the servant actually saw death. He is courageous as he is prepared to meet death. What else? He cares for his servant as he readily gave his host to him. What is the meaning of the title, Appointment in Samarra? What do you think will happen to the servant? Did he avoid his fate? The servant will eventually reach Samarra in time for his appointment. What is that appointment? The appointment is with death. He is going to meet his fate. Did the servant go to the market on his own accord? No, his master had sent him to buy provisions. This was thus a decision not in his hands. When he met death, he decides to escape. A choice he makes. This too turns out to be predestined. One cannot escape one's fate. If one is destined to die, he or she will die. Death is inescapable. The word fate comes from Latin and it means to speak. Something has been said earlier by the gods or some mysterious forces, and it will happen as has been said. The message of the story is that one cannot run, hide, postpone or prepone one's death and one's fate. It will happen according to one's destiny. You must all have heard the dance number from the movie Pukar, in which Prabhudeva and Madhuri tapped their feet. Can you guess the song? It's K Sera Sera. Do you know what it means? It means whatever will be, will be. What is our life if not an attempt to fool ourselves into thinking that we can control it? Can we truly escape our fate? Or should we stop worrying and accept what life offers us?